1969 in South Central Los Angeles, Compton Watts area. My last semester of high school, just before graduation. The high school counselor met with every student and their parent to talk to them about their college future. It was my turn for my mother and I to talk to the counselor. In the meeting, he told me that I needed to learn how to do something with my hands because I would never make it in corporate America. This was quite upsetting to both my mother and I, and when we left his office, I cried. When I got home, I went to my room and I cried again. My mother came to talk to me. She told me never to let other people determine your future. That's your job. And I didn't. I wish my parents were here today to see what I've become. They would be so proud of this moment. I promised myself that I wouldn't cry, but that's really hard because becoming a Disney legend is something I never thought would happen to me. When Josh DeMoro called to give me the news, I was speechless. And anybody that knows me knows I am never speechless, okay? Then when he told me that I would receive a letter from Bob Iger, I said, oh my God, he's still my heart. For many years, my job was to produce merchandise-related special events, but I didn't do it alone. It took a team of cast members that I partnered with, and our goal was to make the event an unforgettable experience for our guests to enjoy. During these events, I worked with many of the Disney legends, and after getting to know them and realizing how important it was and what an honor it was to become a legend, I want to thank many of the people for their help and support, and most importantly, for believing in me. To my leaders, Clark Jones, Chris Shepard, Tony Garrison, Mary Wolf, Ed Storm, and Marianne Sharp. To my girls, my team, Michelle Harker, Elaine Seahawk, Kathy Jensen, and Sonia Martin. To my partners, Linda Vota, Al Nasser, Chris Kane, Nadi Ayon, Terry Campanelli, Richard Stoner, Suzanne Toller, and Krista Johnson. Plus, I want to thank Becky Klein, Michael Vargo, Wendy Lefcon, and my brother from another mother, my co-author, Tim O'Day, for adding a little extra special layer of Disney magic to my retirement. There are so many more wonderful partners that I don't have the time to name individually, but I sincerely thank every one of them, and you know who you are. I also want to give a special thanks to my family, especially to my twin sister, Mary. Many of you know my twin sister. I would always talk to her about my job to the point where she thought that she worked at Disneyland too. And if you ask her, she would say, I do work there, okay? So after 50 years of working, I decided to retire. I told my sister, and the first thing she said was, are we going to have our retirement at Disneyland? When I got the news about becoming a legend, I shared it with my sister. With joy in her voice and tears in her eyes, she said, are we legends now? The bottom line is this. I'm just an ordinary black girl from South Central Los Angeles who had an amazing job at the Walt Disney Company, and I would do it all over again. Hey Mary, we're now Disney legends! Thank you for such a wonderful and unforgettable moment that I will cherish forever. Thank you!
She is a groundbreaker. She is is a trailblazer. She is a history maker here at the Walt Disney Company, and she is officially a Disney legend. Would y'all please give it up?
How does it feel, y'all, to be in the presence of a Disney legend? How are you feeling today, Miss Martha? I want to get situated. I'm so excited for y'all to spend time with her. How are you feeling this morning, Miss Martha?
I'm doing amazing, and I'm a little emotional right now because I'm so happy to be talking to you guys. Because for many years, I've always wanted to be a part of the dream team, to be a part, to talk to you guys. And it took me to retire that now I'm able to come and talk to you. And I'm gonna tell you now, I think all of you guys are amazing. I don't know you, but I look at your face and I feel like I know you. You all are amazing. And I want every last one of you to make me a promise that the dream that you have, that you would keep it going until you become what you want to become. You promise me? Because you never know who's watching you. And you never know where I'll be. So I could be watching you. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, I'm the kind of person, it's like, you have to talk to me first before you can talk to your mama and your daddy, okay? And you know what that means, right?
Man, again, we are so honored that you are here, Miss Martha, because your Disney story is absolutely incredible. And I'm so fortunate to have Miss Martha be one of my mentors in life, not just in career, but personal life as well. So I wanna take things back, Miss Martha, because from ordinary to extraordinary, you have had an incredible journey here with the Walt Disney Company. I want to, again, take it back to the beginning. So I want to ask you, what was high school like for you? And when did you first start to recognize your purpose? I know you touched on that a little bit in your speech, but what was high school? How was high school for you?
I'm a twin, and so it was the two of us, always, from elementary school, junior high school to high school. And I get many people asking me, what is it like being a twin? I don't know any other way. I don't know what it's like not to have a sister, not to have someone with me. So this is the only way that I know. So I always had my friend with me all the time. School, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. My sister was very smart, very smart. I wasn't quite as smart as she was. She got A's all the time. I was a B, C, D, and I got a couple of F's, but we won't talk about that. But it's okay, all right? It's okay to get that. You learn from them and you do better, right? And so I did better. So studying for her came easy. For me, it was kind of hard. I had to really study hard in order to get a good grade, but that was okay because I was determined to do what I needed to do because I didn't want to stay where I was. I wanted to get better and do better. So high school, I had a good time in high school, okay? I was in a different club. I was in the forensic league, you know, and I was in the contest, and I didn't know anything about forensic, but I started, and I found out that I loved it. And I would go to the contest, and I would, no exaggeration, I would always win. I would always come in first place. And it was like, that's me, the one that doesn't get all the A's is doing this. I did so well that when I graduated from high school, I was a graduation speaker. And you know, normally they do it with the person that has the best grade. They didn't do it that way this time. They did the person who could speak the best. And I had to apply for it. I did, and I won. I got it. So I was a graduation speaker. And it was great. It was wonderful. There were bad moments. You know, I had my friends that I was able to talk with to get over the bad moments, but then there were great moments also. And then the other thing was my mother was PTA president of every school I went to, elementary school, junior high school, high school. So
me doing something bad wasn't a smart thing to do, because there was no telling. I turned around and there's my mother standing. It's like, oh, hi, Mama. It's like, okay. So I wasn't. I always tried to stay on my P's and Q's, you know. But I had a good high school, and the school that I went to was John C. Fremont High. Woo! I know you guys are too young for that. But I loved my school. We were the Pathfinders, and we had a great football team. We had a great basketball team. And I went to all the games, and I had a good time. It was good. Very strong.
It sounds like a good time. And I love that you were in that club. I had no idea. I learned something new every single time I sit and talk with you.
I know, and you know what? I don't say anything, but when I have to speak, I'd speak, and I have people going, Mark, I didn't know you could do that. I said, well, you never asked me, you know?
Yeah. True. Phenomenal woman. That is who you are. Now, I want to step back and I want to talk about defining purpose, because many of our dreamers here in the space are still finding out what excites them. So how did you identify your purpose, and what advice do you have for those who aren't sure quite yet what their purpose is in life?
My purpose. You know, when I was in school, at first, I wanted to be a nurse. I saw blood and passed out, so I said nursing is not my thing.
Same.
Didn't want to do that. But I also realized I had a fondness for kids, teaching. I had patience, you know, so I wanted to become a teacher. But, excuse me, what I also did is that even at a young age, I talked to different people. And so I went to the schools, the elementary schools, and I would talk to the teachers to see if that was what I wanted to do, okay? And if it wasn't, then you do something else. But that was what I wanted to do. So I went to school to become an elementary school teacher, and I wanted to teach kindergarten through 4th grade. Any of those classes is what I wanted to do. And so that was my goal, was to be an elementary school teacher. What I say to you is that you may have a lot of different things in your mind that you may want to do. Ask questions. Talk to somebody. Even at a young age, there's nothing wrong with talking to somebody about your future. Like I said in that speech, you don't let other people determine your future. That's your job. You don't let nobody tell you what you can and cannot do. And that counselor who told me that I needed to find a job to work with my hands, what he didn't know is that I knew how to work with my hands, because I'm a seamstress, self-taught, and I'm a very good seamstress. I made wedding gowns, formals. For my sister and I made all of our clothes in junior high school and high school. So I knew how to do something with my hands. But what he was telling me to do is to step down. And I wasn't going to step down. And neither are you. I'm making that decision for you guys, okay? You're not stepping down. You're going to continue to step up. So that's what I did. You think about what you want to do. You do some research for yourself. You find out if that's what you want. And if it's not, change your mind. There's nothing wrong with changing the career that you want. Even at an older age, there's nothing wrong with changing your mind. Okay?
I love that, because even in my now middle-aged adulthood, I'm still changing my mind every day with what I want to do after this opportunity. So thank you for pouring into them. But when we talk about dreams and purpose, I feel you cannot pursue that without resiliency. But you can't build resiliency without challenges and struggles. So can you share with us any challenges or obstacles that you faced, whether it was entering the work field or throughout your career, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
So, I don't know if you guys know this, but I wrote a book. After I retired from Disneyland, I wrote a book about my career. And I didn't criticize the company, because Disney is not a bad company to work for. I talked about my experiences and my challenges. And I did have some challenges with people dealing with people that they were their problems. They were not my problems. Meaning, an example, that when I was a buyer, and I was a candy buyer for 9 years. And so I would go out into the stores, and I had to redecorate the store. I bring in new, girl, my house looked like Christmas every single day, okay? And you're talking about candy. Every piece of candy you can think of, I taste, and I knew all about it, okay? And so I would go into the candy palace to redecorate the store. when I would walk into the store, many of them didn't know that their buyer was black, okay, educated. I'd walk into the store and all of a sudden they would freeze, those that did not look like me. So I would talk to them and ask them to do things no different than you, okay? But when I get back up to my office, my manager calls me in and says, Mark, I need to talk to you. And I said, okay, what is it you want to talk to me about? He says, I'm getting words from the park that people are afraid of you. And I said, why are they afraid of me? And he couldn't tell me. He says, you need to change your attitude. I said, I don't know what you're talking about because I haven't done anything. I said, can you tell me why they're afraid of me? He couldn't tell me. But I told him. The reason why they're afraid of me, because many of them have not worked with a black educated woman before. I'm no different than anybody else. I'm no different than the white girl standing next to me. I don't provoke people to get upset and to make them afraid of me. The problem is because I'm black, and that's not my problem. That's their problem. So, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go back and you're gonna talk to them and tell them that they need to change, not me. Because I'm not doing anything mean to them. I'm not yelling or screaming, because I'm not a yeller, I'm not a screamer. I don't use profanity. I'll take that back. I'm not gonna tell that lie. But not to them, not when I'm working and stuff and everything. I don't do that. I said, it's their problem, not mine. And he kind of looked at me and I got up and I said, I don't want to have this conversation again. And I got up and I walked out. And it was their problem. Later on in the years, you know, they would talk about, well, what's Martha like? Who is she? What is she doing? And they would tease me by telling me stories. I remember the first time I met you, okay? The first time I met you, I was so afraid of you. I said, why? And they said, I was just afraid of you. You were afraid of how I looked. And now, I'm not afraid of you anymore. And I said, right, what did I do? They couldn't tell me either. So there are things like that. There's also ways that you can talk to people and you don't have to use profanity. You can say, I am gonna say this word, okay? You can tell somebody to go to hell without saying go to hell, okay? Put a smile on your face and you can say it very nicely and just, nicely, get lost, you know, or any of us, okay? You don't have to say all of those other words, okay? So, and then sometimes, in confrontations that you may have, whether it's a pleasant one or not so pleasant, sometimes, number one, you want to pick the battles that make you look good, always, always. I don't care how mad you guys get at somebody, you want to pick a battle that makes you look good. Sometimes, in them battles, you don't get to say anything. You win the battle, but you may not win the war until later on. But sometimes don't say anything, and you win, okay? Sometimes, and this has happened to me, that I've gotten so mad about something that I needed just to kind of take a break and think about it, go home and think about it, and then come back the next day and address it. There's nothing wrong with that. Come back the next day and address it being calm, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
There's nothing wrong with that. Do that. Those are some of the challenges that I had and some of the things that I did. The good ones, I party hard, I work hard, and I have a good time. And I like the people that work for me, that are around me, to have a good time also. So it was very important to me. What I did at Disneyland before I retired, I was in charge of merchandise special events. So I did all the big events at the Hope Resort. I was the one that dealt with all the celebrities. I dealt with the artists and the authors. So I had a team of people that worked for me. To me, it was very important that they were happy, just as happy as my special guests. Because when I know they're happy, then they want to do things and they want to come back and work for me again. And that was my goal. And believe it or not, I succeeded in that area. So every time I asked someone to do something for me, they would always say yes. And I had not one celebrity to ever tell me know that they couldn't do something at Disneyland for us.
Yes, Leslie, you are pouring into us today, Ms. Martha. You are a powerful woman. You kind of touched on it when it comes to taking action, because purpose is powerful, but it means nothing without actions. So what are some practical steps that our Disney dreamers can start taking today to start stepping into their futures as they look beyond Disney Dreamers Academy this weekend?
So, like I have been saying a few times, questions. Ask questions. You're in an area that you're interested in, ask questions. If any of you have a summer job and you like where you're working, ask them questions. Make them aware that you're interested. Make them aware that you want to do more. You want you to be on their mind, so that when they're doing different things or planning different things, they can think of, what's your name, young man? Mason? They can say, you know what? I have somebody in mind I think will do a good job. His name is Mason. Why don't you call him in and have a conversation with him? What's your name, young man? I can't hear you. You have to speak up. I'm old. I'm 74.
Fritz.
Friends.
Fritz.
Friends.
F-R-I-T.
Fritz. Fritz. You talk to your person that you want to talk to the job in the area that you're interested in. Put you on their mind. So they can say, I got somebody I think that can do this job. Fritz can do it. Call him in and talk to him. Believe what I'm saying, because you never know who's watching you. One of the ways that I became manager of merchandise special events is that I was here at Walt Disney World. Are you guys familiar with D23 convention?
Yes.
Okay. Before the D23 convention, we used to do a convention called the Disneyana Convention. It started D23. I was one of the originators of the Disneyana Convention. I would come every year to work with all of the celebrities and the artists who do the signings and stuff. We had, your guest complaints. I was handling a guest complaint, and my senior vice president was watching me. I had no idea that she was watching me or had been following me. I handled the complaint with this lady. She was she complained all the time. And so I'm talking to her. Her hair was beautiful. And sometimes you have to do things to kind of get people out of that mad mode into a more pleasant mode. And so I'm standing there and I'm looking at her and I'm talking to her. And I'm looking at you, God, that you're not the person, okay? I'm just using this example, but okay? Okay, cool. So I'm looking at her and she's talking and she's complaining. I said to her, your hair is so beautiful. And she said, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I said, I heard every word that you said. So she hits me on my arm, she slurs me. I said, what you hit me for? She goes, you're not listening to me. I said, I'm listening to you. So I repeated what she said, and she looked at me, she started calming down. Unbeknownst to her, she started calming down. I was much bigger than she was, so her little punch that she gave me was like, it didn't mean anything. And so I said, why are you complaining? And so we started talking about it. She was complaining for nothing. We were talking, and all of a sudden she starts laughing, and she gives me a hug. My SVP was watching me through the whole thing. We ended up, she put her arms around my shoulder, and we walked away together. And I sent her on her merry way. After the convention was over with, we went back to Disneyland. They had some major layoffs. And so after they laid off the last person, they called me in. And I thought I was getting laid off also. So I went into the office. The manager that was our manager at the time was a good friend of mine, but she was taking care of business. So I'm scared to death. My hands are freezing cold because I'm so nervous. I'm real pale because I thought I was getting ready to get fired, laid off. So she's calling me, Martha. I just blinked out. So finally she shook me. She goes, Martha. And so I said, okay. They gave me a promotion. And I said, oh my God. And she explained, I want to tell you something. The reason why you got this promotion is because Joan Ryan watched you handle a guest complaint. And you did so well, she was so impressed with you that she felt that you should be our new manager of merchandise special events at Disneyland. You never know who's watching you, okay? So you always want to put your best foot forward and do your best, and we can all do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right.
That's right.
So you just don't know. And respect. You respect other people, they respect you, okay? Everything else seems to fall in place. You respect each other. Respect is so important because we have so many people that want to disrespect you, and sometimes killing them with kindness, I like your ears, is that you respect, okay? Remember that. Respect each other.
Already S-P-E-C-T, mine
There
all
you go.
belongs to me.
All right.
I love that. My grandma always told me growing up, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Yes, you do.
And I take that to heart every single day.
That's right.
But even with my own Disney career, a lot of those opportunities that I was able to step in those doors is because I worked with someone or I had my own narrative that was out there with people who have worked with me, who tapped on me for those opportunities. So thank you so much for touching base on that, Ms. Martha. I'm gonna go ahead and throw it over to our last question. I know our time today is cut a little short due to timing and scheduling, but I do want to ask this one last question to you, Ms. Martha. Because again, Martha, you are a dreamer, you are a legend, and you are an author. So if you could leave our Disney dreamers with one lasting message about stepping into their greatness, what would it be?
The most important thing is believe in you. If you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect anybody else to believe in you? That speech that I said up there, I meant every word that I said. From, excuse me, that teacher who told me that I wasn't going to become anything, to working with all of those people doing events, to working with Disney Legends, and they believed in me also, but it was because I believed in me, okay? So you have to believe in yourself. It is so important that you do that. You believe in you. And if you know you can do something, you don't let somebody tell you that you can't do it. And there are so many people who will tell all of us, I'm an example of that you're not gonna do something that you know you can't do. And that's one of my pet peeves. I hate somebody to tell me that I can't do anything. It makes me so mad that I go, okay, fine, I got your number. And I go do what I need to do. And I do it well.